When you think about packing a suitcase, right? Maybe for a holiday, a beach trip, or exploring a new city.
Yeah, flip-flops may be a good book.
Exactly. You're thinking about what you want to bring. Well, let's pivot completely. Think about an emergency suitcase.
A very different kind of packing list.
Totally different. Not for vacation, but for those moments, those unexpected curveballs life throws where being prepared is what's everything.
Absolutely critical.
And that's really our focus for this deep dive. We're digging into the global emergency suitcases market.
And it's way more than just bags, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. We're talking about a really rapidly expanding industry. Think comprehensive go bags for disaster evacuations, specialized medical kits, even survival caches for all sorts of situations.
Right.
And just so you know, all the numbers, all the insights we're sharing today, they come straight from cognitive market research. So solid data.
And what this data really shows, I think, is this striking global shift. It's not just about reacting anymore. Societies are, proactively investing and being prepared. It's quite a fundamental change.
A real pivot.
Yeah, it's like a lens into how communities everywhere are trying to adapt to, well, a world that feels increasingly unpredictable. And it's fascinating to see where that investment is really taking off.
Okay, so let's unpack that scale then. This idea of an emergency suitcase, it feels more common now, but
Yeah.
how big is this market, really, on a global level?
It's already pretty substantial.
Yeah, back in 2021, it was already valued at over $1.1 billion. But the projection, that's what's really staggering.
Right.
It's set to soar past $1.45 billion by 2025, and then, get this, nearing $2.5 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That's a global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of over 7%. That signals some really robust, sustained growth, doesn't it?
It really does. And the consistent global growth, it's not just, a line on a business chart.
Yeah.
It reflects something deeper, a societal shift towards proactive resilience. It shows this increasing awareness, this investment in safety, both personal and community level.
Like a worldwide acknowledgement.
Exactly. That being prepared isn't just some niche hobby anymore. It's becoming a fundamental need.
So where is this happening most? Let's dive into North America first. It's currently the largest regional market, right?
That's correct. Leading the pack for now.
Okay, so in 2021, its market value was already pretty big, nearly $450 million, and it's projected to more than double by 2033, reaching almost $977 million.
A huge market.
With a KGR of over 6.7%. Now, within North America, the U.S. is, well, it's the dominant player.
As you might expect.
Yeah, close to $300 million in 2021, set to grow to over $615 million. Canada's also showing strong growth, over 7.1% CAGR.
Solid numbers across the board there.
But here's where it gets really interesting, I think. While the U.S. has the biggest slice of the pie, Mexico actually shows the strongest growth rate in North America, an impressive CAGR of over 8.1%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Its market is set to go from around 46 million in 2021 to over 116 million by 2033.
That does raise a question, doesn't it? What specific factors might be driving that faster growth in Mexico compared to the U.S. and Canada?
Right. The data doesn't spell it out.
No, but you could speculate. Maybe it's tied to more recent experiences with natural disasters driving awareness.
Yeah.
Or perhaps a stronger government push for citizen preparedness.
Could be. It definitely suggests some very localized needs or maybe faster adoption driving that demand.
Yeah, something specific is happening there.
Okay, so from North America's strong showing, let's head across the Atlantic. Europe. The picture here is a bit different, maybe.
A bit more varied, I'd say.
Yeah.
Steady overall growth, but with noticeable differences between countries.
Okay, so Europe's market, nearly $307 million in 2021, and expected to more than double, like North America, hitting almost $680 million by 2033. The CAGR is just under 6.9%.
Still very healthy growth.
Definitely. And the UK and Germany are kind of the powerhouses there, both showing growth rates over 7% and projected to each be worth well over $139 million by 2033.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Each be worth well over $139 million by 2033.
Okay, the big economy is leading the way. Makes sense.
But then you contrast that with, say, Spain, which is growing at a respectable, over 5.2%, and especially Luxembourg, it posted the region's lowest CAGR at just under 4.8%. That's quite a difference.
Yeah, that is a noticeable gap.
Growing from about 4.6 million to just over 8 million. Much slower pace.
And if you zoom out, That variance across Europe is quite telling, isn't it?
How so?
Well, it suggests maybe different levels of societal urgency around preparedness, or perhaps it reflects different government priorities or emphasis on personal readiness across the continent.
So it's not like a single wave hitting everyone equally.
Exactly. It seems much more varied in Europe.
Okay, now, prepare for potentially the most eye-opening region, Asia Pacific.
Ah, yes, the growth engine.
Absolutely described as the region with the strongest overall growth globally, an astounding CAGR of over 8.4%.
That's really motoring.
Isn't it? The regional revenue was over $216 million in 2021, but it's projected to surge past $575 million by 2033.
Wow. And within APAC.
China is the leader there, poised to nearly triple its market size. It goes from over $77 million in 2021 to over $225 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 9%.
Huge scale. Huge growth.
But wait for it. The real standout, the global leader in growth, is India.
Okay, I was wondering about India.
An astonishing 10.3% CAGR. Almost unbelievable growth.
10.3%. That's phenomenal.
Its market is set to jump from just over 22 million in 2021 to around 72 million by 2033.
Incredible trajectory.
And you've got other significant players too, like Japan growing steadily over 6.7%, and South Korea also strong, over 8.2% CAGR.
So broad strength across much of the region.
Mostly, yes. But it's interesting, the region also contains some of the slower growth pockets globally. Southeast Asia is growing at about 4.5%.
Okay.
And the rest of APAC's category actually shows the lowest global CAGR we've seen, just under 4.4%.
Huh. So real extremes within one region. That dynamism in APAC is just fascinating. India's explosive growth, China's sheer scale. It really points to preparedness becoming integrated into daily life very quickly there.
What do you think drives that?
Probably a mix of things, The frequency of natural disasters in parts of APAC is definitely a factor.
Sure.
But also rapid economic development maybe makes these products more accessible. And maybe just changing consumer priorities towards safety and security. It's likely a combination.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's quickly touch on the remaining regions, South America, the Middle East, and Africa. Still seeing growth here too.
Absolutely. Consistent growth, even if the starting market sizes are smaller, it really underscores the global nature of this trend.
Right, so South America, over 54 million in 2021, projected to hit over 130 million by 2033. That's a solid 7.5% CAGR.
Good growth.
And Colombia stands out there, a remarkable 9.28% CAGR.
Very strong.
Then the Middle East. Nearly 43 million in 2021, rising to over 106 million by 2033. That's a 7.8% CAGR, with Saudi Arabia leading regionally at over 8.3%.
Also impressive.
And finally, Africa. Started at over 31 million in 2021, projected to reach over 66 million by 2033. That's a 6.3% CAGR, with South Africa being a key contributor there.
You see, even in regions with smaller current market shares, the growth is consistent.
Yeah.
It just highlights how preparedness is becoming, a universal concern.
Yeah.
It's adapting to unique regional challenges, sure, but also to just evolving citizen needs everywhere. It's a pretty powerful statement about how we're all responding to uncertainty, really.
So wrapping this up then,
Well-
what does all this data, all these numbers actually mean for you listening?
Well, we've definitely seen this significant growth curve across the globe.
For sure. In this whole emergency suitcase market, it shows countries, communities, individuals worldwide really investing more in readiness, whether it's for disasters, medical emergencies, or just general survival scenarios.
And I think the key takeaway is that these numbers, they're more than just market trends, aren't they?
Yeah, I agree.
They're like a pulse check, a measure of global awareness of proactivity. They show this collective shift happening towards greater self-reliance, greater community resilience, and that feels like a vital movement in the world we live in today. Remember, all this insight comes from the detailed work by Cognitive Market Research.
Yeah, this deep dive has really highlighted what feels like a quiet but pretty powerful revolution in preparedness. It definitely encourages you to think about what this global shift means for your own perspective on safety and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given this really robust growth everywhere, are these emergency suitcases becoming? Well, are they becoming as essential as having a first aid kit in your home?
Interesting question.
What does this widespread and clearly growing commitment to personal preparedness really tell us about the kind of future we're all collectively building? Something to think about. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a shortcut into a really crucial area, the emergency suitcases market. It's evolving fast. All our insights today, they're coming straight from a report by Cognitive Market Research. We're hoping to help you get a solid handle on, well, how preparedness is really hitting the mainstream.
It really is fascinating. With all the rising global uncertainties, emergency preparedness has just shifted, hasn't it? From something pretty niche to a much broader priority.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
From something pretty niche to a much broader priority for many people. So today, we'll dig into what's really pushing this market, what's holding it back, and yeah, some surprising trends that are kind of shaping where it's all headed.
Okay, so let's talk drivers. What really struck me from the report wasn't just, more natural disasters happening, but the perception of risk changing. It highlights how places maybe once felt safe are now seeing things they haven't before, wildfires popping up, unexpected floods. It forces this psychological shift, right? From, oh, it won't happen here to, maybe it could.
Exactly. That mental shift is
Yeah.
powerful, much more than just statistics, I think. And if you connect that to, well, the bigger picture, you've also got increasing urbanization. More people in cities means evacuating large numbers gets really complex. So residents start thinking more proactively, like, I need my own plan. Plus, you have governments, NGOs pushing safety campaigns. That really adds legitimacy, boosts the market.
Right, that makes sense. Now, beyond just individuals buying these, the report mentions something about corporate and institutional investment growing. What sort of new challenges or maybe opportunities does that shift bring? I mean, a hospital's needs must be totally different from a school's, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key point. Companies, schools, healthcare facilities, especially if they're in disaster-prone areas, they're definitely investing more now. It massively broadens the customer base. So
Yeah.
manufacturers, they need to think about bulk orders, meeting specific regulations for different sectors, even totally specialized contents. Like industrial first aid versus maybe group communication gear.
Okay, that paints a clearer picture. But like any fast-growing market, there have got to be hurdles. What are the main restraints showing up here?
Well, a really key one is still the upfront cost. I mean, comprehensive kits, packed with good medical stuff, specialized food, tools, reliable communication. They can get pretty expensive. And that immediately raises this equity question, doesn't it? Are they really accessible to everyone? Lower income groups might just find them out of reach financially.
That's a big barrier. And then there's the confusion, maybe, lack of standardization. How do you even know if a kit is actually, well, good enough when there's so much variation out there? Plus, in some parts of the world, there's just not much public education about being prepared in the first place, let alone choosing a kit.
Right. And just practically speaking, portability and storage. These suitcases can be bulky, heavy, not exactly ideal if you live in a tiny city apartment. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? The places where quick evacuation might be most critical are often where space is tightest. So how's the market tackling that?
Well, that leads us nicely into the innovations. Moving from the challenges, the report points to some really pretty compelling advancements. Manufacturers are getting smarter about customization, tailoring kits by region, by the type of risk. So imagine a kit for California earthquake zones versus, say, Louisiana flood areas. The contents would be quite different, right? Maybe structural tools versus water filters and rafts. And the smart tech integration is fascinating. Things like GPS trackers using mesh networks so they work off-grid, or solar chargers strong enough for medical devices. That's not just convenience. It genuinely extends how long someone might survive.
Definitely. And something else that's noticeable is this growing environmental awareness. More focus on eco-friendly packaging, biodegradable materials. That really lines up with what a lot of consumers care about now. And distribution-wise, the whole direct-to-consumer e-commerce thing is huge. It lets companies skip traditional retail, maybe offer better prices, and even build relationships, things subscription refills or educational content.
So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for your approach to preparedness? Or maybe for businesses thinking about entering this space? It seems pretty clear this market's set for sustained growth, driven by more hazards, sure, but also this really fundamental shift in how people think about being ready.
It absolutely is. And as you think about your own preparedness, it's worth considering, the bigger picture here. How do we balance needing comprehensive kits with making sure they're actually accessible? And how might things like smart tech and that deep customization really change what readiness looks like for whole communities, maybe like yours? Understanding these market dynamics, well, it's really key to being properly informed about safety today.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.